Live life by choice, not requirement. There's only one way to get there from here. Be the resource your community needs. Welcome to the Relax, I Got This podcast and start crushing it with your tribe with host Robin McCoy. Here's your host.
Hi, I'm Robin McCoy, Texas Realtor and Tribe Builder. Welcome to Relax, I Got This, Crushing It with Your Tribe, where we share real talk about building business and life relationships. As a Texas Realtor, I'm in the unique position to meet and know so many different people in a wide range of industries. And these people are my tribe, and I leverage them not only to help my business, but to help theirs as well. And today, I am so excited to have a dear friend from so many years ago. Char Klisares is with us from Des Moines, Iowa.
Very honored, and I'm so pleased to be here and also to be considered one of your tribes.
You are. You and I, so real quickly so people know, we're both in real estate. She is a top realtor there in Des Moines and actually a coach. Put us together many years ago as accountability partners. And we would see each other once or twice a year at conferences and things like that. And I just haven't actually seen her in person in a long time. And this is the first time I've seen her face. And it's not in person, but it's as close as we get with Zoom anymar.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is
wonderful that we can stay connected like this.
It is. And just a couple of things about Char. Like I said, she is a top agent in Des Moines. She proactively protects her clients from unnecessary blows while keeping a watchful eye on the clock, which means she is paying attention to every aspect of her transaction. And she is a Circle Excellence member, which is the top 5% of agents. She's a mentor, a coach, an Amazon top-selling contributing author, and the founder of the CKRETFoundation. And this is mostly what we're going to be talking about today. CKRET is a domestic violence nonprofit, and she is often out saving the world, both for her clients and her foundation. But she is also a brand new grandmother. Who knew we were old enough to be grandparents?
Right.
I'm not, by the way, for the record.
I'll lend mine out. You can borrow it.
Okay. The longer we can go without me being that one of those, then that's okay with me too. That's okay with me too. Okay, so Char, tell me a little bit about maybe just what you're, like I said, you're a top real estate agent in Des Moines and a founder of this foundation. How did those two things happen?
Well, they one rose out of the other. I was at the top of my game a little over 6 years ago, and very comfortable in staying there. I had employees, I had agents, I had a very successful real estate business, and I decided to go on a date with someone. All good stories start with that, right?
Yes, they do.
And long story short is this was not a very good person, and in a short amount of time, he created a lot of chaos within 30 days. I did not want to see him anymore. And at the end of that, he had said, if you leave, I'm going to ruin you. And I just remember, if somebody said that to me today, I would hear it a lot differently than I did then, because I just thought, how?
Yeah.
Because I have never been in trouble with the law. I have I don't do anything illegal. I run a very successful business. I'm on the board of directors for many nonprofits here in Des Moines. And I just remember thinking that's just nonsense. It's a threat.
He's just talking.
I dismissed it. And what I did not know at the time was I didn't know this person's real name. And I also did not know that he was a convicted felon in 2 states.
Wow.
And this person had a lot of experience with how to manipulate a lot of the resources that we go for protection in a way that would help him abuse. And over a 60-day period, he stalked me, broke into my house, sliced tires of my car. And even when those things were going on, I didn't directly get the police involved because I just thought, you know what, he'll move on. And when he broke into my house, he didn't break down a door. He had seen me enter my door code, and he had come in and put some flowers in my house that when you call the police to report that somebody broke into your house and left flowers, they don't tend to do much.
Yeah, sounds a little non-threatening.
Yes, and the psychological damage was already there. And at the end, I ended up getting a no contact order because that's what we get taught that we need to do in order to get protection. And he ended up getting arrested at my house, and that only infuriated him more. And he was actually arrested and released mistakenly. And within 12 hours of being released from jail, he went down to the local police department, filed a false report, accusing me of sending some inappropriate pictures to his minor son, and none of that was true. And they came after me. And so I will never ever fault a system for protecting a child, because we need those protections. But this just wasn't what was going on. And when it immediately started, I was all over the news here in Des Moines for 3 days, the local news channels. I was on the front page of the local paper. This went viral. It was on MTV. It was on Perez Hilton. It went everywhere. Wow. And it did put me out of business overnight. Yeah. And I mistakenly had just thought, even from the beginning, I thought this is just a misunderstanding. When somebody sees kind of that he's been stalking me and that I have a no contact order and he was arrested at my house, this will all go away. And I didn't hire an attorney at the beginning because I just didn't think I needed one. I thought I can prove it. And again, this is just a misunderstanding. But the longer I did not have somebody speaking my truth, the deeper I found myself involved in the justice system. And there came a point, it was about halfway through my experience, if you will, it's about 90 days in, that I went into court, and I thought at this point this would be dismissed, because now they can see there was no contact order, he was arrested and all of this, and they didn't dismiss it. And they just upped the threat. Wow. And I remember going home, and they offered me a plea deal, which was wonderful. If you did do something, the plea deal is great. It's like the bargain in the justice industry, right? It's 50% off. It's great, but I didn't do it. And I remember going home, and I got really quiet with myself and my faith, and I really leaned into the resources that anchor us through moments. And really had a come into Jesus talk with God and asked him what he was doing. And he had assured me that 10 times more good's going to come back to me, that I just needed to walk this walk. And he actually named and shared with me the name of the foundation in that moment. And it was, I still remember, it was December 30th of 2016. And he said, you're going to create a foundation. You're going to call it the Secret Foundation. And if you've ever been lost, and you're looking for some sign that you're on the right, like you're lost in the middle of nowhere, and you see that sign that says that place you need to go 2 miles ahead, the relief that you have. We named it the Secret Foundation, and that name came from the letters of my real estate business, CKRET, the Char Klisares real estate team. And for me, that was one of those, I'm really smart, but I'm not that smart that I knew I needed to marry somebody with the last name of K and get into real estate.
Those things, I've heard all
not that smart. And then he said, hire an attorney. and I did. And within that was the halfway mark. So it actually took 200 days total before charges were dismissed against me. And ironically enough, they were dismissed on Good Friday.
Interesting.
Which I think is kind of
little
coincident going on there.
Yeah, there's something going on.
There's something going on there. And so once charges were dismissed, it was amazing, because I didn't get 3 days on the news, and I didn't get the front page of the newspaper again. And I had really quite a bit of rebuilding to do. And so all that coaching that we had done early on, Robin, together, you go back and dust off those books and get them back out, because for that entire 200 days, I had no business, none, zero. And he was still stalking me. He still was doing things that were really, really creating a lot of stress in my reality. So with charges being dismissed, I jumped back into real estate because I had a lot of rebuilding to do, but I also now had an awareness where a lot of gaps were in our system, and that there was no resource available for help.
Right.
And I kind of paid attention to that from the beginning, from the very first day on. It was so far from the truth. It had to have a bigger purpose than just creating chaos.
And so random, right? And so random.
It was
because
so random.
I mean, and I guess that just tells us too that one person with malice, kind of malice in their heart, what if they are intentional, they can do great damage.
And isn't that the choice that we get judged by?
Yeah.
And, right? Because
somebody else's. Yeah. I was just going to say, you can take that same intention, and with that same sort of intention and motivation, you can do great things.
Yes.
Which is what you're doing as a result of this.
Right. I don't want to go through one of the days of those 200. I don't want to go through one of those days again, but I did gain so much wisdom and insight and the ability to speak words to people in the moment of their most broken moment that gives them hope and really helps them see that you can thrive through this, because I wasn't equipped with any supernatural powers. I wasn't, I didn't have any, great family bonds other than I had my children that helped me through all of this. I did create a tribe.
Yeah.
I leaned into my tribe, and those are very important.
They are very important.
They get you through those moments. And so without that, I don't know how I would have, I don't know how I'd be here today. And so in 5 years, I've got my business back to better than it was before all of this started. And now I have this purpose nonprofit that really has helped. We've helped hundreds and hundreds of women throughout the 5 years, and with goals of helping many, 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 many more. And then I help men also. I just have found that not as many speak up.
Right.
They're there, but they just don't speak up.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll circle back and we'll really talk about what the Secret Foundation is and where you're going with it. So
perfect.
Be right back. We're going to take that short break and back to Relax, I Got This, Crushing With Your Tribe on the OBBM network. I can say that.
Still doing your own audio and video media?
If you're creating your own video series, TV, podcasts, and ad files, you're not focused on your business.
Your community needs you to keep being awesome, while professionals take care of audio and video details.
Bet you didn't know your show could have a studio audience with Q&A.
And applause.
Take your TV and podcast show to the next level. Focus on managing the business end of your inner celebrity.
Get over here to the OBBN Network studios at Grace Point Media in Farmers Branch.
Discover 3 state-of-the-art television studios,
2 podcast studios equipped for multiple participants and audience guests.
OBBM Network Studios at Grace Point Media is the highest level of set direction, audio video production quality, network programming, and broadcasting for your business.
Your message could be in front of people you want to reach right here in DFW and beyond.
Call 214-714-0495 to talk through your ideas now. 214-714-0495. It's time to make media work for you.
Life as a business owner is risky. There's contracts, there's investments, there's lease contracts. What exactly are those risks? Sometimes it's not just what's in the contract, but what's missing that's just as important. Listen, if you don't have an attorney when you need an attorney, you are at risk. Get the oversight that your contract needs with a commercial real estate attorney that works for you to protect your interests. You can afford help, but you have to call me. My name is Jenna Zabrowski. Go to lawbyjz.com or call 214-915-2501 in order to talk to me. I'm a commercial real estate and lease lawyer with over 10 years of experience, and there is never more power in your hands than before you sign that contract. So call me before you sign that contract. I'm not your attorney yet, but if you'd like that specific legal advice, give me a call, 214-915-2501 or lawbyjz.com.
Welcome back to Relax, I Got This, Crushing It With Your Tribe, where we share real talk about building business and life relationships. And I'm here with my good friend, Char Klisares, and she is in Des Moines, not here in Dallas. But we're talking about a foundation that she created called the Secret Foundation, which helps folks come through domestic violence based on some of our own experiences of, somebody intentionally destroying your life.
It is. It's one of those topics that nobody likes to talk about, yet it impacts all of us. If not directly, we have friends, we have families, we have coworkers or loved ones who find themselves in the midst of domestic violence. I think is a diagnosis of the justice system. I like calling it domestic chaos, because until we are able to understand the patterns of why, we're going to continue the behavior.
So what did you discover in your experience that led you to say, okay, I need to help. I need to figure this out, because we don't have there's no rule book on this.
Right.
There's no bullet pointed list that says, I'm in a situation, I can't get myself out of it. I don't know where to go and I don't know what to do.
Well, a lot of what I had taught my children growing up is if you have a problem with something, instead of focusing on the problem, why don't you get busy focusing on a solution? And a lot of what's going on with domestic violence is not a criminal issue. Domestic violence is a social issue. For instance, alcoholism is not criminal. It's a social issue. There are criminal aspects to alcoholism. The same thing applies to domestic violence. And by going to some of the resources, which are right now the only resources set up, the police department, the justice system, they're not really equipped with the things that are needed to deal with the long-term cure. For instance, if I went to my mechanic, I'm having a heart attack, and I go to my mechanic to help me, he's going to do the best he can, but in the process of helping me, because it's the wrong place, he might break a rib or something and create what I call residual damage.
Yeah,
right, residual damage. Harm. And it's not his intention. His intention was to help. But when we go to the right place to fix something, I go to the hospital, we see immediate improvements and change. And a lot of my story was not just founded in this moment with real estate, but it actually started many, many years ago in my childhood, and having knowledge on how the system was ill-equipped with those situations when I was younger. And as I grew up, the different areas that the system does not, for instance, my mother, we were in foster care. When we were in foster care, my mom didn't get her child support payment. So she took us out and she moved, but the beatings and stuff didn't stop. So she then learned to call in to the police department when my brother, I'm going to use my older brother as an example, when he was about 10, she called into the police department and said that he was being naughty, and he really wasn't. But they took him off to a boys' home, and my mom still got her child support. Yeah. So now she's got somebody raising her children without her having to do it. So the manipulation of a resource that was designed to protect in a way that abuses or punishes, or is used in a way that benefits the abuser. Our justice system, the hard thing with the justice system is that it typically creates a financial burden on our domestic violence victims. If you've got somebody in a relationship that has more money than somebody else, they're typically going to win in the justice system. And so it's not equal footing. And so making sure that people realize when we go into and again, I do not mean any disrespect by any means to anybody involved in the justice system or the frontline police officers. I think that when we can partner together, we can realize that we actually set them up for failure sometimes by calling them. We wouldn't take our alcoholic friend to the police department to fix them.
Correct.
But we take domestic violence victims there. And so they don't have the needed training. They don't have the inpatient resources. There's different levels of intervention that are needed, really just depending on the level of chaos.
So what does Secret provide? So where does Secret come in to help eliminate or alleviate some of that?
A few different ways. I have a transitional housing, but mainly I get called in to give informed consent so that you're understanding this is one of three options. This is pros and cons of each one. For instance, and I've got to talk about this is a very hard topic, so I'll just warn you on this one. I got called in because somebody had a teenage daughter who had just turned 18, but she was raped from her high school boyfriend. So being able to explain to them the pros and cons to all of their options on, do we go to the police department? What is to be expected from them? Because right now what happens is we go into some of these situations and we think that they're going to be like a knight in shining armor. And that's not the reality. Sometimes the system itself can re-victimize the victim.
Right.
which is some of what I found myself in that process. So being able to know going ahead of time what to expect, you're able to then make informed consent, informed decisions on, in this particular one, they decided to get the daughter into some pretty intense therapy. We went down and we can file for a no contact order that will still give her some protection and some rights without necessarily exposing her to some pretty brutal cross-examination if she were to find herself in a courtroom.
Right.
So the other is, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I do that.
No,
I'm a domestic violence consultant, so I can also sit next to somebody if they find themselves in the courtroom. I can go anywhere they are. It is at a domestic violence advocate is seen as an ADA compliancy part, because you're maybe suffering from PTSD. I can help come in and give you some breathing techniques to get you through moments, and just knowing sometimes that you have another person there. The other thing I do is provide shelter if somebody finds themselves in the middle of a situation and they don't necessarily want to go into any kind of group shelter, or they just need immediate ability to go off grid so they can process and make a strategic response and not a reaction. Because with reactions, we regret.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need time away, get your head straight, figure out what is best for your next steps.
Correct. And not lose everything that you have in the process. Right. Because it's not the people that might normally feel comfortable going into shelter or might be on some already struggling before. These are the me's that I found myself in the middle of. I had much to lose. And it was not necessarily, I couldn't afford a house. I just needed to go somewhere where he couldn't find me. Yeah. So that I could process some time. Or, I also do supervised visitation. I'll do custody exchanges if they're high conflict, because a lot of the time, just knowing someone's there dissipates any issue. And so rather than wait for something to happen, which is a lot of what our justice system does, they wait for the criminal offense or the harm to happen, and they're not proactively trying to avoid it.
Right. All right, we're going to have to take another break. So we will be back to this very intense conversation in just a minute. So we'll be back to Relax, I Got This, Crushing It With Your Tribe, where we talk about building businesses and lifelong relationships. And we'll be back in just a minute.
Every business needs a dependable junk hauling service to keep their property clutter-free. Call 630-470-8307. Junk Luggers offers a wide range of eco-friendly residential and commercial junk removal services to help your business run smoothly and efficiently. Book your no-obligation estimate with Junk Luggers today. Banks and credit unions have unique junk, and Junk Luggers knows the business. Professional organizers, senior living communities, we're helping everyone clean up and start new. If you're redecorating, remodeling, or getting ready for new tenants, Junk Luggers will donate, recycle, and do our best to keep it out of the landfill. Call 630-470-8307. That's 630-470-8307 today.
Everybody loves music, but not everybody knows what it can do for you. I'm sure you've noticed issues like anxiety, depression, and addiction are up. At Chester Squared Music Therapy Services, we understand. We have a seasoned staff with almost 30 years of experience dealing with clients with Alzheimer's, PTSD, addiction recovery, pervasive developmental disorders, post-accident rehab, and head trauma. We have experience in the local school district special ed departments, psychiatric hospitals, rehab facilities, medical and counseling centers. For those who are struggling to break free of the 9-to-5 rut, I've developed my groundbreaking Power of a Positive playlist system, taught in local psychiatric and rehab facilities successfully for years, and it's helped thousands of people. If, like many people, you struggle with boundaries, inner voices, relationships, and practical spirituality, anxiety, and panic attacks, improve your life through the power of music therapy. I'm a published author of 2 books and available to speak at conferences, seminars, and corporate events. Go to ivorchester.com today. That's IVOR Chester.com. Go now.
Be the leader you know you can be. Build your professional network and access education that takes you where you want to go. We are women of all ages and backgrounds. You deserve national recognition and opportunities to build relationships with people you want to work and grow with. Hit the ground running with the Charisma chapter of the American Business Women's Association. Meetings each month from 6 to 8:30 p.m. on the fourth Tuesday in Farmers Branch, Texas, and online. Come with us. Experience ABWA for yourself. Go to charisma.abwa.org to learn more.
Welcome back to Relax, I Got This, Crushing It With Your Tribe, where we share real talk and building business and life relationships. Okay, Char, we're almost out of time, if you can believe it. See, I told you this goes really fast.
It goes very fast.
So tell me what the future of Secret looks like for you. Where do you, see it going, and how can we help?
Great questions. There are two immediate funds or directives that I am immediately implementing, and we're finding that creating scholarships or creating funds that people can come get to pay for lawyer retainers and also social resources. And so creating community events here in Des Moines, I'm learning a lot about how you do that and how you don't do that. But my vision board is to have a 5K and then to have a light up the lantern evening that just brings awareness to how close to home it hits without demonizing anybody involved in this.
Right.
I think until there's an awareness for need of change, there is no change. And so creating the resources that if you found yourselves in the midst of needing an attorney, but you don't have the money laying around for a retainer, is one of the biggest issues that I'm finding in domestic violence in our justice system, that we've got to create funds and do it in a way that perhaps creates a repayment, or in exchange, you do some more volunteer work. Mm-hmm. And then the social resources, how people choose to heal is very personal to each person. And so allowing different levels of resources to meet people where they're at, and then also allowing some of the funding, are two of the main campaigns that I'm looking for donations. We help people with. I would love eventually to have the girls and the men that I help, I call them Jane Goes and John Goes, because we want them to go before they become a Jane Doe or a John Doe statistic of the justice system. And so if you want to see some of the stories on that, you can search social media for hashtag Jane Go or John Go. And then eventually my long-term goal is to create that social platform very similar to Alcoholics Anonymous, but I would call it Go Anonymous. And then going on would be the support for the friends and family, because a lot of the times, even though somebody's not asking for help, doesn't mean that we can't do helpful things for them. Because ultimately, until somebody asks for help, it's not help. Right. And
yes. and as so, you said, so many people, and we tend to focus mostly on women in this situation, but there are men out there too. That are facing different forms of this, whether it is the stalking or any other forms of abuse. It's not gender specific.
It is not, and it's a lot more quiet and tolerated, I find, from our John Goes than our Jane Goes, because we've set the standard that men don't have emotions, or they're not manly if they ask for help. And so creating community and creating that sponsor, mentor environment where somebody has thrived through an experience and now they can go back and help others, and just partnering people together. And again, it's just, I've always said, if you have a belly button, you were designed from your beginning for connection. And so if you find yourself in a situation and you feel that you're alone, that's when we need the connection the most. And so to reach out and find those communities, and that that's how it changes. That's how we stop that chaos cycle from repeating.
Well, before we went on air, started recording, you said, the truth will the truth will not set you free. You need to hire an attorney.
Yes, your truth doesn't get heard. It doesn't matter how true your truth is. If you don't have someone who is acknowledged as a player on the game field.
Yes. Okay, that's a great way, it's like, because if you don't have someone that's been there before, you are just wandering about. You are just wandering about.
It's like you're up in the stands at a football game yelling direction down there. They're not going to hear you.
Nobody's
They just can't hear you. Yeah, it's not intentional. They just can't hear you. And so that's the main thing we need to remember, is that it's not directed. What I went through wasn't directed. Nobody woke up with a chip on their shoulder other than my bad guy that one day. The byproduct of the machine that I went to is what my story was.
Yeah.
And so thank goodness I was trusted to walk it and thrive through it with an awareness of going back and let's create some change. And I believe that if we could get this off the justice system's plate, then they could probably do a lot more of the things that they're wanting to do also, instead of babysitting adults.
Well, certainly. So unfortunately, we are just about out of time. Where can people reach out to you, find out more information about you and Secret and all of those things?
Well, we're getting ready to launch our new website, so you'll see that, but you could find us on our Facebook page right now, Secret Foundation, CKRET, Secret Foundation. And then in this next week, so we've got 1 week left, we've got a whole new website. We've got a lot of content that's going to be going out there, and just creating the education for people to know how can you help. And if you find yourselves in the middle of that chaos cycle, instead of doing what I did, which was to face it alone and not reach out, how you can go about finding help in different avenues.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. As I said, Char and I have been friends for a long time and started in the real estate industry together, but in separate states. And we've just kind of stayed connected a little bit on and off throughout the years.
Yep.
So I just appreciate you joining me today. As a Texas realtor, I have the unique opportunity to meet great people in a wide range of industries. And if I can help you with any of your real estate needs, or you need the services of those in my tribe, please reach out. Check out all the show notes for Char's information and more information on the Secret Foundation and how you can support the very important work that she does every day. And if you're in Iowa and you need a real estate agent, let's not forget, call Char.
I'm here. Right.
He's there. So who you're in business with matters. Thanks so much for dropping in. Come back and hear us again on Relax, I Got This, Crushing It with Your Tribe.
You've been listening to the Relax, I Got This podcast with Robin McCoy. To become a member of Robin's tribe or find out about guest and sponsor opportunities, call 214-226-3770. For DFW home sales information, go to robinmccoyrealty.com. Relax, I Got This, Crushing It with Your Tribe is produced for the OBBM network and available wherever you're listening to podcasts. Unauthorized use of the Relax, I Got This podcast or the OBBM network podcast brands are strictly prohibited. Call 214-714-0495 for permission requests and program information.